Yeah, caught me on guard there. Okay.
That's what you get for that dollar tea crowd. Definitely get it. Anyway, because it's always like a super big deal for some reason. Like, okay, so this is what we're discussing. We're gonna be discussing gender roles and his thoughts on gender roles in relationships, of course. What are your thoughts? Like, do you believe in gender roles? That's like the first thing.
Maybe to an extent, but I don't think I'm as hard on it as some people are.
So you're flexible.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like relationships have changed so much over the years.
That don't mean you have to change. In your
no,
belief.
but I'm saying that, like, for instance, when men went off to war, and women kind of had to go to work because there was, all the men were off to war. Women had to pick up the mantles and go to work, and a lot of women at the time, that's what they wanted. They didn't want to be at home and just taking care of the house and taking care of the kids. I mean, they wanted to have jobs. They wanted to be doing other things. So, I mean, I think that played a huge role in things moving forward. So, I know there's a lot of people that still have that, like, old school mentality when it comes to gender roles, but I don't feel like that really applies today. I mean, I think it.
So what do you believe in? What do you personally think are good? Not like
I believe
not
that
society in
a
the world,
relationship
like
is like a partnership. It shouldn't be necessarily all on one or all on the other, but you both do your part. You both, do your part to make it work. It shouldn't. I hear a lot of these relationships, and it goes both ways. It's men and women that feel like you have guys that want to find some woman that'll take care of him and he don't have to do nothing, or you have some women that want to find a sugar daddy that's just going to take care of them and they don't have to do anything. And I don't believe like that. I feel like whether it's a marriage or relationship, whatever it's going to be, it should be a partnership. We both put in the work, and we both, should reap, the benefits of that. I don't know. That's my way of looking at
it. Have you always felt that way, or has it changed over time?
No, I think I've always kind of felt that way. It's like I said, I know there's still a lot of people nowadays that don't. I mean, there's still a lot of people that kind of have that old school mentality.
I mean, because didn't your mom not work?
Right, but that was my dad's decision.
Right, but the reason I'm saying that is because a lot of people believe how they were raised, what they see, and so that's why I was asking.
Right. No, my dad. That was what was great about my dad. He gave my mom that choice. Like, hey, I have a really good job. You don't have to work if you don't want to. I make good enough money to take care of everything.
I'm not sure they can hear us on that.
So, yeah. So, my dad had a good job. He worked for the railroad, and he gave my mom that option. She didn't have to work. She could stay home, and my mom embraced that, and that worked for them. That, and ultimately that's what matters. What works for your household? What works for your situation?
Right.
But like I said, I personally, I that women are just supposed to do this and supposed to do that. I don't think we shouldn't have those kind of boundaries on things anymore. Guys should just be expected to do A, B, and C, and women shouldn't be expected to do just C, D, and F. It's kind of what you want it to be. It doesn't have to be something that somebody else says it has to be.
Indeed. So, how do you feel about like the man supposed to drive?
That's a made-up rule. As long as you have a goddamn license, you should be able to fucking drive too. I ain't no damn chauffeur. I don't want to drive everywhere.
That was an inside thing because he feels like because he feels like I think the man's supposed to drive.
You do.
Hence, who's driving? Hello. So, I don't want to hear it, but he feels like that's how I feel. So, I thought I would throw that in there real quick because I already just knew how that was going to go. Even though, I mean, I do feel like the man should do the bulk of the driving. And, when there are times where he may not feel like it, I can. Kind of like, I was automatically gonna go over to the passenger side, but I was trying to be considerate, so I stayed over here. And, but if he would have been like, hey, which he wouldn't, but if he would have like, you want me to drive? I definitely would have jumped over in the passenger seat. Just so we're clear about that. But yeah, I just think, for the most part, it's to each their own. I don't think there's necessarily one way, right or wrong either way. It's whatever you want to do. But I know there are a lot of people who are really like hardcore on either side, like men with their thoughts on what men are supposed to do and women are supposed to do, and women on theirs with and both on what they will or won't do. And I think, like I said again, that's fine if that's what the couple wants. And I say also, one thing that I dislike that people do is they have these wants and desires or whatever, and that's fine. I say find someone who agrees with that, but they try to mold people into that and be like, I want you. Oh, like, oh yeah, I want you too, but I like this. Oh, I don't like that. Well, if you're gonna be with me, like, well, so we disagree, so we shouldn't be together. Like, instead of trying to mold someone in that way, so to speak. Like, to some degree, we mold one another, when you're with each other, but it should be a mutual thing, as opposed to like, this is what I want, and in order to be with me, that's how it's gotta be. And that's fine, again, like I said, as long as you find someone who's like, yeah, that's what I want too, as opposed to later on, like, roping, like you've talked about it and discussed it and stuff, and you haven't necessarily made it 100% clear or concrete that that's what it is, and then when things get super serious, then you're like, yeah, so it's gotta be like this, and you're like, what? Like, that's not what we, you know what I'm saying? Like, I say like manipulating or misguiding people. I don't agree with that. But yeah, ultimately, that's how I feel about it. I did once upon a time feel like certain things were guy things, and I still kinda do.
Yeah.
But I think, wait, the laughter. What's the laughter for?
You still do it in some ways.
I said kinda. I didn't say that. But wait, what was you thinking of?
It's just funny because you said, I kinda, yeah, you definitely do.
What in particular? are you thinking of? I'm just
I mean,
curious.
I do a majority of the stuff.
No, but I'm saying, what is it that you think? You laughed. What were you thinking of?
Well, I mean, even just like the driving. I mean, you think I'm supposed to be a 24/7 chauffeur?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
And that,
I don't like driving like that.
And not 24/7. Like I said, when you don't feel like it, I will fill in. You know,
There's
tag
a
me
lot
in.
of times that I don't feel like it because I don't want to drive all the time.
And those are times when, you know, I believe I drive.
Very, very little do you drive. Unless you're going somewhere without
By
me.
myself.
Then you have to drive. But other than that, if we're together, I'd say a
70-30.
90% of the time I'm the one driving.
90.
Yes.
70-30.
No, not even close.
70-30.
No. 90-10.
65.
Okay, I'll even go 80-20. But that's as far as I'm gonna go.
80-20.
I drive a vast majority of the time.
We don't, for real though, to be fair and honest, we don't do a whole lot no more like we used to. We don't really do
Even
anything.
when
So
we-
he's not driving a
Even
whole
if
bunch
we
of times.
go
Don't let
to
him
the
like
store, it doesn't
make
matter.
you feel like we do
It doesn't matter where we're going. You expect me to drive. If we're going 6 hours away or 6 minutes away, you are going to expect me to drive.
The expectation is there. Yes, I even said this to him. I said, I do expect, yes, but that doesn't mean that because that's what I expected, that that's what's gonna happen. But yeah, I mean, I just think that it's good to be on the same page. So, same page as he knows, that's what I expect. But that doesn't mean that, you know, so he don't ever have to ask me, do you want me to drive? Because the answer is yes, always. So that's kind of what that's
And
for.
I
Like,
don't.
you know what I'm saying?
I don't ask you to.
No, you don't. But I'm saying,
'Cause
like,
I already know.
if you,
Because
but that's-
99 times out of 100, you're gonna expect me to drive.
99 out of 100, that's drastic. But that's the point. Like,
The only
that
time you would expect me to drive is if I just got out of the hospital and I can't drive. Like, you're just gonna automatically go to the driver's seat. But if that's not the case, you're gonna expect me to drive.
Okay, so guess what, too? This is the other reason, too. So, like, I'm not originally from here, and he was born and raised here. So, it's like he knows where he's going, so it's a lot easier
No, you've been
for
here
him
long
to, like,
enough.
for him to just, because it's easier, like, if you know where
Been here
you're
like
going.
6 years or so.
I ain't been here for 6 years. Where you gonna put gas in here?
Huh?
Where you gonna put gas in the car?
I don't know. Did we need to?
It's, the thing just came on. But,
We'll get to mom.
yeah, so it's easier than me having to pull up directions and find out where we're going. He already knows where we're going. He knows his way. Is it raining?
No, I thought it was, but then I
Oh,
looked
it's the
over and I seen the
sprinkler.
sprinklers. I was like, well,
Okay.
damn, where'd the rain come from?
That was so random. So, yeah, so I'm looking around and I'm like, what's he looking at? And then I saw the sprinkles. So that's another reason. Because, like, if you know where you're going, like, that's so much easier and simpler than someone having to pull up the directions and listen to where they're going than somebody who knows exactly where they're going. He knows where he's going. And for the most part, he knows generally where he's going. Anywhere we go, for the most part. So, that's also the other reason. But,
No, that's a convenient reason.
no, that for real is.
No, but it's out of convenience. It's just another reason to want me to drive.
No, it's just
Oh
valid.
no, but see, I do that because you know how to get where we're going.
You do. That's an
But
added portion.
but it just adds fuel to it.
I mean, yeah, it's an added portion. You know, the bulk of it is because I prefer him to drive.
But even if you drive, that doesn't mean that I can't help guide you from this seat.
Yeah, but why help guide me when you can just
Because
go
I
there?
may not want to drive. I'm maybe tired and I
It's
don't
so
feel like
much
driving.
simpler.
I'm sure
But
it
anyway,
is.
guys, that's where we are on gender roles. And make sure that you know, ladies, the man is supposed to drive. Let him know his role. All right. you guys later. We're almost home. Bye.